roll call. Get the notes up here. So we've got Christina Davis, that's me, I'm present. Keith Lipker,
Present.
Paul Varga,
Here.
Pam Summers,
Here.
and let me see if there's anybody else. Okay, Judy Austin, I hear somebody walking in, let's see. Oh, not Judy, so Judy is not present, Angie DeSanto is not present. And for alternates, we have Hugh McKenzie, not present, Holland Love, not present, and Tim Rhodes, not present. Okay, but we do have a quorum. So we won't seat any alternates because we don't have any present. Okay, communications. So first up, we'll get into the when we get to it in the agenda, but I got a communication from the auditor this morning with a revision, which we can go through on the audit. I did send everybody his notes and then I realized that I didn't send the email with the attachment. So I just sent that this evening. So if you check your email, you'll see hopefully the revised audit in your inbox. And then I'll share it and we'll walk through it during this meeting as well. Also just Sherry, what an adorable dog you have. What is his or her name?
This is Tater.
Tater?
Tater, like Tater
Tater?
Tot.
Like Tater Tot, adorable. Okay, great.
Yes, he's getting into trouble, so I have to watch him. He's beating on the other dog. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
That's all
I
right.
grew up with schnauzers. I love them.
Maybe we should have one of these meetings, we should have a show your pets, because I know everybody's got cute dogs, but. Okay, so that just, there was communication around the audit and I'll share more detail when we get to it on the agenda. Region 19, did have its municipal budget meeting on Tuesday night. I think the big takeaway, and I know Pam and Catherine, you were on that meeting, so you can chime in. The big takeaway seemed to be that Ashford's share of the student population for this coming budget is projected to go up, which means our kind of percentage is going to be higher. We're in the barrel this year, whereas like last year it was Wellington, now it's our turn. I did manage to find in their budget documents from last year, the numbers, just to give you a rough idea. So last school year, the current school year we're in, we sent 178 students. We're projected to send 183. So we're going up. Mansfield is going down by about 20, and Wellington is going down by almost 30. Well, 29, about 29. So we're going up and the other two towns are going down, which means our share of the Region 19 budget is going to grow a little bit more than others. So I did ask the superintendent, I followed up. I said, can you get us like what the firm numbers are? And she said she was gonna get them to me and I haven't seen them yet, but. And then there was conversation in that meeting about avoiding this issue where we're going up and down from year to year. And can we do some sort of rolling average that would smooth out these issues? And that would require probably some legislation, which means we kind of have to work together as a district to advocate for it and bring in other regions probably to help make that change. But the town manager from Mansfield was on the meeting and he said he came from a town in New Hampshire that did something similar to that. And he was kind of all for it. So that was the Region 19 meeting update. Catherine?
New Hampshire's tax structure for education is entirely different though. It's like entirely different.
Catherine, did I miss anything? On
No,
that?
if I understand correctly, they're going to have another meeting where we're going to talk about that very subject. And what I'd really like to see are some nice visual models. Looking back, we can go backwards and, pull the information and see what it would have looked like and then look and see what our projections would be for the next couple of years based upon class sizes or number of students in each school.
Did they indicate if there's any appetite for other regions, other districts to join in?
Folks talked about that, so, Greg Haddad, who is the rep for Mansfield, I believe, he's not ours, but for them. He was the one in the past who had actually proposed legislation on it, and he said he kind of did all this work and then nobody kind of backed him up on it. So.
And that was 10 years ago. So I don't know if he was doing it for our particular, I'm going to say our particular region. But even 10 years ago, the superintendents had gotten together to look at what it would be if we consolidated all the schools or whatever. And that was not a very healthy endeavor. It might have been a little bit longer than 10 years ago, but so the people have been looking at things over the years. And this one was kind of interesting. I hadn't heard about this before, but it's just an interesting idea. I'd like to see what it is.
Yeah. No, it did get discussed at last year's meeting, because I remember it came up. And
I think I was out of town for last year's meeting.
I think that's why the superintendent was kind of doing the right thing, which is sort of like saying like, okay, well, we need next steps. We need to actually do something, not just talk about it. Because I think it has come up year after year, this idea of doing some sort of rolling average. The other thing was, there was talking like, okay, well, can we reach out to Parish Hill, their district, and see what they're doing, what they want to do? And then Pat Boyd, who is our rep,
Yes.
he said, they were like, are there any other districts in your region that might want to, talk to us about it? But he's like, oh, no, because he doesn't have any regional districts. And then the only other district is Woodstock Academy, which is the whole other weird entity.
And May Flexer was there for Mansfield, that area. Unfortunately, Senator Gordon was not there to join in.
Yeah, I mean,
He represents 2 of the towns.
But yeah, hopefully there'll be more to come on that. And if there are meetings, I'll share them with the board. And if people want to participate in that conversation, I think that would be welcome. So that's that. And then the only other thing is the Capital Improvement Committee meeting that happened on Wednesday that Keith was able to attend on my behalf. And Catherine, I imagine you're going to give an update on that in your
It'll be brief.
report. Yeah, that's fine. I do have, I don't know, did I share the capital improvement spreadsheet that got sent out with this board?
No, I wouldn't do that yet because it needs to be cleaned up.
Okay.
And would you agree, gentlemen?
I would,
Thank you.
I would agree. There's a lot of stuff on there that needs to get.
Yeah, it needs to come, there's some things that need to come off. I'm gonna take over.
That was like
Ashford that.
that was more for the capital improvements committee to get an idea of where we're at and kind of get moved forward. There's a lot of stuff. It'll just confuse people to no end.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so that's it for communications. The next item on the agenda is to approve minutes. So the first item is special meeting minutes from December 5th. Would anybody like to make the motion?
So moved.
So Keith made that motion. Who would like to second?
I don't think I was at that meeting. Can't remember. I went to look and I never got that.
I don't remember, and it's not opening for me. Well, anybody else willing to second the motion? Or you weren't there either, were you, Pam?
No.
Okay, well, I'll second the motion.
No.
Okay, so are there any edits for the December 5th special meeting minutes?
No.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Do
Folks,
you have enough people to
I
pass?
think folks that weren't there are allowed to
Yeah,
vote.
so I'll vote aye. We are allowed to vote. I'll just vote aye.
Do you want to vote, Pam, or would you rather abstain?
Abstain.
Okay, I think we have 3 ayes, which I think is enough.
No, you need 4.
We need 4?
Yes,
1,
And
2,
I,
3.
for 6-member board, right? You need,
We are a 6-member board.
you need 4.
Would you like to change your vote, Pam?
Sure. No one's gonna arrest me, right?
I don't think so. We have 4 ayes. Okay, and then the next set of minutes was from last week, so our regular meeting minutes from January 9th. Did anybody like to make
Before
a
you have
motion?
before you have a motion, because as an ex officio, I shouldn't be talking once you've made your motion. Okay, I just wanted to mention, I am not a guest. I'm an ex officio member of the board. So I just noticed in the minutes I was put down with a guest.
I'm just gonna, I'm calling it up, sorry. Oh, that's the agenda. The minutes.
Yeah, it was in the guest list.
Yeah.
So it does say, Catherine Silversmith, and then in parentheses, it says first select woman and
Yeah.
BOF ex officio member. Would you rather
Hang
have it broken out?
It's under the list of guests.
Yeah,
Instead
that's
of
how
Paul.
it's spelled
It should be
out.
up with the other members.
Okay.
Whenever we change,
Oh, I
Sorry,
see
save
what
a
you're
hard
saying.
time.
Okay, so put it up to,
yeah, just move it up.
next to call to order. Okay, does that, okay, so this is new for you. So with when we talk about changes, and we'll summarize it a little bit better than what we just said, that needs to go in the minutes of this meeting.
Okay.
So it'll say like, we're gonna basically do a motion, we'll say, we approve the minutes as amended, and then you list amendments, and it say, move Catherine Silversmith, da 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 da. From here to
Okay.
there, so that someone who reads the minutes of this meeting can look back and go, oh, okay, that was the change. There's supposed to be like a record of any edits.
Okay.
Okay. But with that being said, I think we need a motion to discuss that edit formally.
All right, I'll move.
So Keith is making the motion,
I'll second the motion.
Paul seconded, and then for discussion, I will say we need to amend the minutes to move Catherine Silversmith from the guests section to the section with the other board members. She is an ex officio member. And then I did spot another typo, which was my fault. Judith Austin should be Judith, and I think that was my fault. So that, again, let's just make a note to correct the spelling of Judith Austin, their list of members. Okay, any other edits? Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? Any abstentions? Okay, so that was unanimous. Okay. Public comment? Would anybody like to make any public comment? Okay, moving on. Does the Schnauzer want to make a public comment? No. Okay, under new business, we have Selectwoman's update. So Catherine?
The only thing I have for an update is, because it's only been a week, is that we did hold the Capital Improvement Committee meeting, and we'll have more meetings. That we have two really driving questions that are going, well, they're going to drive our recommendations. And one is, we need to know what's in CNR without encumbrances. If we have no idea of what's really is in CNR, now at least, because you haven't moved any monies in there, we can't really determine which of the items that are on the list we can pay, conceivably pay through CNR. And then another question when the audit was going on, or when the auditor was presenting the audit, one of the things that he said was, he said, I think you had about 13 point something percent over your budget in the, bear with me, in the undesignated fund. And when he said it, he said it was a good number. What we'd like to find, or I'd certainly like to find out, and I think the rest would as well, is what's a healthy percentage for the undesignated fund? And I think that's a question for the auditor, or I don't know if Sherry already knows from having any conversations with the auditor what a healthy percentage would be in the undesignated fund.
They always recommend anywhere from, it's gonna be a little bit, it's 10 to 15, 16%. And I think you have that somewhere, that you guys have it written down that you
It
like
is-
to keep it.
It
you
is
know, like-
written, it is written in the, not the procedures, but the financial management goals
Yes,
for the Board of Finance. And
Yes.
what's in there is what I believe has been the percentage we've had for years and years. So what I'd really like to understand is what's a healthy percentage now? Because times have changed a bit.
It
Just to make
still
sure we
runs-
all know.
yeah, it's still running the same. They look to have
Can we-
that, at least the town has 2 to 3 months worth of.
He said we
money.
had 2 months.
So, 2 to 3 months worth of monies to pay for bills if nothing was to ever come in, so.
Okay, so let's just, we'll do a hypothetical. Hypothetical, the budget doesn't pass. It doesn't pass for a couple of tries, because once it
Yep.
goes down, it's hard to get it to pass. And I've been through this experience.
Yes,
When that happens, that means that we cannot send out tax bills because we don't have the new mill rate. Although I think you can send them out at the old mill rate, and then you'd have to have another tax should the mill rate go up
Correct.
finally. And you'd have a problem if the mill rate went down for some reason, because then you've got to give money
Correct.
back.
Correct.
I know of a town that's had to give up over $1 million back, I believe.
Yes.
So again, if we could just do a double check with the auditor, that would be great for that opinion. I realize.
Is
what
that a
people are
Sherry
thinking.
task or a me task?
either one.
That could be either one of you. I'm just asking for it, that's all.
Okay, Sherry, would you mind doing that, please?
I can do that. That's easy
you.
enough.
And then the other question you had, Catherine, that what is the balance of the CNR fund without encumbrances? I think.
Right, we
Sherry
know
should
we
be
have
able to answer
we have
that.
encumbrances, certainly for things that are going forward, that kind of thing. We're just trying to get to a net number, like, is it 800,000 that could be available for capital improvements or purchases? Or is it 400,000, just trying to get to some kind of a number that we can work with, because otherwise we can't really recommend anything.
Nope. Can do that.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
Yes, put it this way. Before the auditors made the change in regards to that steep money, your fund balance for capital with the ongoing projects that were in there was around $800,000.
I thought I'd heard that number from you.
Yes. So that's pretty much what
That was without the steep grant.
steep money. That is correct. Now
So the steep money was what,
was $458,000. So you're right around that $800,000 because that money has come in now.
okay, so bear
Okay.
with me. You're
Yep.
saying that the available monies could be about 800,000, and that includes the monies that came in. from the steep grant.
You got cut out, I'm sorry.
And that includes the 800,000, about there, includes the money that came in from the steep grant. Is that?
Correct.
Okay.
That would
thank
be
you.
correct.
Okay. That gives us an idea. Thank you.
All right, we move on to the next agenda item? Yeah, okay. So the next item is discussion and possible action to accept the 2023-2024 audit with an update to page 4 of the document. There were additional updates that came in this morning or later today. Which I can walk everybody through. So. This was sent, and everybody should have it in their inbox. At this point, so this is the new version, it has the date 1/15/25 on it. And the email that I forwarded has. The specific places where it changed, so, and just to give a little background, so the first change is one we requested at the last meeting, which is we just wanted to add. To page 4, and I can show that. Or we wanted, this here, 14% of total actual general fund budgetary expenditures of the 16.6 million. So this is our percentage of unassigned fund balance to general fund budgetary expenditure. So this was added to the document that was presented last week. And the reason to add this is just, it's a metric that we look at, and it's been in previous audits. So we wanted to make sure it was included in this one. The next group of changes has to do with, there was an item Jason reviewed, our auditor reviewed in the last meeting, that was about a $50,684 accrued payroll liability on the school side. So he initially said there's about $50,000 in this accrued payroll that we should have reflected in our financials. That wasn't. Then apparently the auditor, Jason, had a conversation with the business manager at the school, and Jason said, I've reconsidered. Let me tell you exactly what he said. He said, after learning more from Bob about the payroll process specific to the Board of Ed administrative staff, we no longer feel the $50,684 restatement of the 7/1/23 opening fund balance is appropriate. We are going to remove the entry from the financial statements. This will have no effect on the budget versus actual reporting. The only result will be an increase in the general fund's ending fund balance by $50,684. Okay. And then the specific changes that he outlined. So on page 6. It said there's a change to the total net position. So total net position, this number is a 50,000 some odd difference. Page 7 is also the net position. There's a change in this number. Page 12. Well, total net position. So basically I'm getting the sense that when it says net position, that number changed.
Yep.
Let's see, here we are, down here, yeah, so it's down here. And then the same thing on page 13. We have that number there. Page 14. Says the general fund unassigned fund balance and the total fund balance. And the grand total unassigned and total fund balance. So general fund unassigned fund balance. General fund, this column. Oops. Unassigned. So down here, unassigned and total. These two numbers. And then page 16. It's the same thing. Of the general fund beginning fund balance and ending total fund balance and grand total beginning and ending fund balance. And page 41. Mm, mm. 41, so on this page, it's the general fund unassigned fund balance. So this first column, unassigned at the bottom, has been updated. And then page 42 is restatement accrued payroll removal. So this was, on the previous version, it mentions this $50,000 and that's been removed from here. Yeah, from this chart. Okay, so that is, did I share my screen? People on Zoom, were you able to see that? I might not have shared my screen. Do you guys need me to go over that again? Because I just realized I didn't share my screen. Okay, well, you can go through the email, everybody has that and the document itself. Sherry, I don't know if you have any color commentary background on what prompted the change and how it all transpired, or was it news to you like it was to me on whatever day that was, Wednesday morning?
News to me. So I have a feeling they just went through, it's just how some of the summer staff is paid by contract and how they book it. So I think it was just a matter of just Bob going through it again with Jason, just to reiterate what his feeling was on it and why they didn't do it that way. So, and they came to an understanding. So we gained $50,000.
Yeah, it's a good thing, right?
Yes.
Okay, so any questions or comments or concerns about that, or just generally about the audit? Okay, would someone like to make a motion to accept the draft audit as presented this evening?
So,
Okay, Keith made the motion.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, I'll second it. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Right, any noes? Any abstentions? Okay, that was unanimous. So next steps on that will be, I will get a clean copy from the auditor that doesn't have that draft watermark. And they'll file that with the state, and I'll also share that electronically with the board and various interested parties. And we'll make sure it gets on the website for the town. And we will also get printed, some copies printed for those who want it printed. Okay, good. Let's see. Okay, next item on the agenda is a letter from the town attorney regarding a new process to transfer monies to the CNR fund. So before we look at the letter, I just want to jog everybody's memory because this kind of came up a long time ago. But we wanted to make sure it got addressed before the budget season really starts. So the background is, and this is the memo that I sent to the town attorney to give him the background on it. And this I shared with this board. I think it was like in July of last year. But basically, if folks recall, when we had auditors come in to present, when we had an RFP, one of the auditors looking through our minutes said, hey, you voted to transfer a significant amount, it was about $350,000 from your unassigned fund balance to your CNR fund. And he kind of was like, I'm not really sure if that's following the letter of the law, because boards of finance are not supposed to spend, anything above 20,000 is supposed to go to town meeting. Now, we do, as part of our budget process, that money transfer is included in the budget packet that is considered at town meeting. So we think that we were following the letter of the law, but maybe there's room for just a little bit more transparency. And that was, you know, kind of the takeaway from my conversation with the town attorney as well. And so what I had proposed and what the town attorney signed off on in his letter, which I'll share, is just when we make the motion to do that transfer, that we specifically tie that transfer to the budget that we're working on, so that it appears in the budget. And then also a separate motion where we specify the funding sources for the capital improvement plan, which again has always been in the town meeting packet. But we never like spelled it out in our motions or minutes in the past. So basically just suggesting that we use these motions and this format so that voters and members of the public can very clearly see like, oh, this is part of the budget and it goes to town meeting, etc. So
I
the
have,
letter.
I have a suggestion on that when you get done.
Okay, so the letter from the town attorney basically just summarizes what that memo says and then says, we view this process to provide proper notice regarding the various steps in the budget process and in compliance with requirements of the Connecticut general statutes. And again, so this was raised by an auditor. Our auditor that we contracted with, Jason Cody at Hoyt Filippetti, when we talked about all these issues and I bounced all these different scenarios around, he kind of was like, yeah, that sounds good, but I'm not an attorney. So he kind of wanted us to get the attorney sign off. So that's what we pursued and now have. Okay, any questions or comments?
I have a suggestion.
Mhm.
What you can do in your, you know, your budget letter when you're going to go to public hearing. On that first page, there's a list of things that says that these things were considered when putting together this budget. And one of the items in that bulleted list is capital improvement plan, something like that. Also CNRs in there. And what you could do is, I don't even think there's a comment next to it, but it says these things were looked at. Some of those items in that list have comments that elaborate a little bit. What you could do is in there next to CNR, you could say that the Board of Finance is proposing moving this much money into CNR as part of this process. And then in the CNR section of the budget itself, just before you get to it, I have a page I would like to give you on your capital projects that will be, I think, helpful. But you can put something there as well. So when someone goes to the back end of the booklet of the budget to look at the capital improvement plan in detail, if you have something from there that also says that what's recommended is to move this much money into CNR, you've kind of also told them in writing somewhere in the budget package itself. And that information carries over into the annual town meeting. So you can talk about it in the public hearing, the selectmen will talk about it in the annual town meeting, and it's right in the budget package for people to refer to. So just being transparent.
Yep, I think it's transparency and just connecting the dots for the public so they understand what the procedure is. So that makes a lot of sense, Catherine. Thank you. Any other comments or questions about this?
I think, the process, all that the attorney did was basically validate what we've done in the past, because I'm reading in a 4-year-old, maybe 5-year-old budget packet, and it spells out exactly where the funds came from.
Yeah, I think it's just the
there was
minutes.
a
If someone
time-
were just to look at the minutes in isolation like that auditor did, that
Right.
would raise the question. So that's
Right.
why I'm just proposing that we
So-
be more specific in
And
the
the-
minutes in the motion so that we don't have that question come up again.
Christina?
Just-
Christina, will you be sharing that letter with Jason? So they have it on
can.
record? Please,
Yes.
if you could copy me and him on that, that would be great. That
Sure.
way they have it for their records, so there isn't any question going forward.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions about that? We don't have to make any motions or anything with that, so. Okay, the next item is discussion and possible action regarding the format for Board of Finance meetings. So I just wanted to open it up, so because we do have to include the live Zoom meeting info link in the meetings. Which did result, what did contribute, I would say, a factor in the Zoom bombing that we experienced back in November. So my question to this board is, do we want to just move forward with that? Keeping the hybrid option? Do we say, you know what, this is too much of a hassle, we don't even want to do hybrid meetings anymore, we just want to do in-person meetings? There are other couple scenarios, just to let you know. So when I did actually speak directly to the community outreach person at the Connecticut FOI. And he did say that we could have in-person meetings and allow board members or people who need to make presentations or staff members to join via Zoom and not make that Zoom an option to the public. Which means it wouldn't be on the agenda, it would just be available to those that we want to make it available to. That is technically legal. However, he did say and acknowledge, because I said, well, if I'm a member of the public and I'm schlepping to town hall, but I see routinely board members getting to Zoom and I can't, I could see people getting annoyed at that. And he said, yes, people get annoyed at that, and he hears about it all the time. And he has to say to them, sorry, but this is legal, like the way the language is in the statutes, it is legal. So that's an option as well. So I just want to lay it out there, like, so we could also just say, you know what, cross our fingers, we hope we don't get Zoomed on. We could also pursue a license for the Board of Finance, specifically for Zoom, so that we could moderate the meetings and control the settings. That could provide some protection, and that's about $120 for a license. But that would also then put on me the upload of the video to the town YouTube channel, which is fine. I don't mind that, but it's just an extra step. The other thing to consider if we get rid of Zoom is then we don't have a video recording on YouTube, which is nice in terms of accessibility. So those are all the different kind of things to consider. Just want to see what people think.
There's also a monthly fee to Zoom.
Yeah.
On top of the license.
Yes.
Really?
No.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm looking up the
I
plan.
don't get charged a monthly fee.
I know because I have Zoom myself.
Yeah,
So
we have it. It's
yeah.
it's like $16 a month. It depends on
Yeah,
what.
no, that's what I'm saying. When I say 150, I'm saying it's that monthly fee
Oh,
times
okay.
12.
Okay.
So if you do,
Yeah.
Okay.
if you do, billed annually, it comes out to $13 a month.
Yeah,
Which
so
would
you
be
have an
about
option to
150.
make a
I
one-time
think you need
payment.
to, I think you need to step back and think about accessibility for the public.
Mm-hmm.
I
That's,
agree,
to
but
me,
I want
that
to hear
is-
from
that's
board, I want to hear
primary.
from board members first.
Oh,
Just hear
then
what
I'm
people
leaving.
have to say. I know, Paul, you seemed like you were gonna say something.
Well, my first question was, if we went to the in-person meeting, so to speak, for the public and allowed board members to Zoom in, or would that recording still be available to the meeting itself? Recording would be available for uplink.
Yeah, I think so.
Because I like the option of having that, right? If you miss a meeting, for instance, there are meetings that I missed because of work and I can't attend even via Zoom, so I can always go back and watch it. I am an enormous advocate of in-person meetings, and I think they're super important. And we've been lucky so far, we only had the one Zoom thing. I don't know. I'm privileged to know how much protection having your own Zoom account would, as long as you don't let that link out there, I would imagine it's pretty protected.
Well, what I've gathered from conversations with various people about it, if we had our own Zoom account, we could make sure that anybody who tries to join the meeting gets sent to a waiting room.
Right.
And then I would admit them.
Right,
So that's not something we're able to do right now. Because of the fact that it's through type.
right, because of the way it works.
Also, there's a setting within Zoom that you can block international participants.
Okay.
And the FOI guy said that's what some like state.
Right,
level
that's what
people-
that stuff.
Which again, I don't know if the Tyke people have that turned on or off. I don't know
Well,
because I don't have
I
access
don't know
to
enough
that.
about it, but I mean, like, is not everybody's allowed to share their screen in the meeting, correct? Doesn't somebody, or is that
That's a
because,
setting as well,
because it's just because we have nobody
right?
actually, so yeah.
So if I were to set up the meetings in Zoom,
Thank
I
you
could
for-
say, nobody can share their screen. I can say, nobody can have their camera on. There are a whole bunch of things you can do to lock
Right,
things
to
down
lock,
that
yeah.
I can't do right now because it's,
Well, when we
in
were
somebody
doing it
else's
before, when
hands.
Mike was on here live,
Right.
he could control that.
Yep.
Right.
did Catherine just get knocked off or did she leave? Did anyone catch that?
Hmm.
Um,
I
Keith,
like the availability of the option, because there might be times maybe somebody's down a vehicle. So you
like
can-
me right now, it's a matter of minutes.
Okay.
My engine blew.
Oh, okay, but that's where I just think it's good to have that available. I mean, personally, I'd rather be in person. I like that better than a Zoom meeting. But you never know what comes up, and just to have that availability.
Mhm. Pam, what about you? What are your thoughts?
I agree with Keith. You know, when the weather's bad or like me now, I'm not well, it's very convenient to come on Zoom, but I do prefer being in person. But when you can't, it's nice to have an option.
And Sherry, what about you? I mean, how much would it be if we had no Zoom option and we're 100% in person? How much of an imposition would that be for you?
It can be only because we're not open on Thursday, so I'm literally here in Brooklyn and I have to come out, come out to you guys and then come back home. It's very convenient for me. I mean, it may be an option that you can ask Tyke when they set up the Zoom link to set some of those options for you ahead of time. Some of those, the international and making sure that, nobody can share their screen or things like that.
Well, I think the problem is, they could probably do the international thing if they haven't already. The problem is because no admin is logging into the meeting,
You can't
Yeah.
change.
you can't change
Yeah.
the settings. So if nobody can share their screen, then nobody can share their screen in the meeting, period.
Right.
Which would
I
kind of
gotcha.
not
Yeah.
be great.
Yep.
But if we did it the other way, where you just said it's in person, but then Pam or Sherry said, I need to attend from home,
Mhm.
that's legal, but then we can provide a Zoom
Yep.
link. So we're not, I'm not advocating for taking away Zoom altogether, I'm just saying that I think for, I would encourage public to participate via this, and I guess in person. But because there've been times too, when we've had public on and without an admin on, we can't mute them.
Mhm.
We can't prevent their video from being fed through, and I mean. It's fine when Sherry's holding the dog, but when the cat's walking across the computer screen all the time. Or we had a one event where we had somebody on and they wouldn't mute and there was just all kinds of background noise. It just becomes the meeting becomes unattendable at that point. So,
So do we want to try going with an in-person meeting and making a Zoom link available to board members and staff? And then we could try that. And then if we get a lot of pushback from the public where people feel that we're
I think
limiting access, then we can revisit and
the biggest
consider.
part of that would be that the recording would still be able to be available.
Yeah, I think so. I think.
And
it would.
if we're doing a Zoom link, as long as, even if we're all in this room, if we're all in person and you log in to that Zoom link, it's recorded and then Tyke would upload it.
Yeah.
Cause that's super important because, the only public here right now is Sherry, and she's actually gotta be here for work, so she's not with the public. And I'm not saying that nobody will ever show up again. I mean, when we were in person meetings, that's how I was involved, as I showed up, but.
Do we
Question,
know how many people log on to the Zoom, the public?
Well, we know because they would be here, right? So, you know, like last.
I never
meeting-
see anyone here.
Well,
except
last
us.
meeting, there was, you know, the Board of Education chair. the
Right.
School business manager, and so in that
Mhm.
case, we would make the Zoom link available to those folks.
Cause they would be presented.
Or that it was, they had a stake in the conversation.
Yeah,
Very-
exactly.
Um, the, you know, but
My-
somebody, you know, I can't remember the guy's name who was here a lot last year. You know,
Rob?
we would, yeah, was it Rob?
Oh,
Turner?
Rob, yeah,
Right,
Rob,
so we wouldn't make the Zoom available to
Right.
him
Right,
and, you know, someone like him.
Right.
And so with that, he might say that's not fair.
right.
And so I think maybe at that point, we consider, we get a lot of pushback.
Well, how long would it take you to, let's say somebody calls, one of the board members calls up the last minute, they go out, the car won't start. How
I think-
much?
I think what I would do is we would just generate a Zoom link no matter what. And actually, we can get a recurring meeting link so it doesn't change.
Right.
Okay,
And I would just send it in the email to,
Right,
You know,
it
the
wouldn't be on the
attendance.
agenda, it would be.
It would just be in the
okay,
email.
yeah.
I mean, I'm not, if we wanna continue with the Zoom meetings like they are now, that's fine. I mean, I'm gonna show up in person as much as I can. My concern was that November incident, and I know it happened to other boards more than once. You know, it's not a lot of fun, and depending on where you are, if you're doing your Zoom meeting in your living room,
yeah. Yeah, it can be very bad if children are on the
yeah, I
call.
mean, I try to be, when I'm on the road and I can't be here in person, I try to do it in a place that is private, but that doesn't always work. I might be in some place where I'm sitting in the corner, so to speak, and trying to listen to my earbuds or whatever, and, you know.
Just kind of go back to your question, Pam, about the numbers. So we have a good sense of the number of people who are attending via Zoom from meeting to meeting. But we can also see on YouTube how many people watch the videos. So our
Mhm.
January 9th meeting, there were 13 views. December 6th, there were 10 views. Planning and zoning gets up to 88 views. You know, there's the stuff when they were talking about the warehouse, I'm sure got
Yeah.
more. So, you know, it looks like we were generally getting 15, 20 views for our meetings. Which isn't a huge number, but it's not nothing.
Right.
That's 10 more people that know something about the budget than they knew before.
100%.
One of my concerns, Christina, may just double check with the town clerk how you filed your meetings and how they were gonna be done at the beginning of the year, because she puts that out and that's something, you know, she has on file saying that you have a regular meeting on such and such, and if they're offered by hybrid. So that'd be something that's filed with the town clerk, so that would have to be changed.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Let me look at our meeting calendar. So our meeting calendar that is filed
Mhm.
just says 2025 meeting schedule. All meetings are held at 7 PM in the lower level meeting room, 104 of the town office building unless otherwise noted.
There you
Okay.
go.
So it doesn't say anything about Zoom or
Mhm.
not.
Just gonna make sure, because I know sometimes they are filed with the, you know, recurring link, or they will be hybrid. So that's just one thing. I just want to make sure you check.
I mean. We can continue with the format we're using, which is a Zoom, and then if we have a problem, we can revisit it again. Or we can go to something different.
Well, I guess, I mean, I just,
I mean, I know that
I don't
that
know,
event was upsetting to a lot of people. so-
right? So it's just whether we want to take that chance. We could kind of just go, oh, well. Take the chance or not.
Do you want a motion on this, or you just wanna, like, how do you wanna do it?
Well, and, yeah, I don't know. I wasn't sure like where we're gonna end up in the conversation. It says possible action, so we can do a motion. So if somebody wants to make a motion about how they wanna see the meetings go forward.
Well, what would, well, I guess that would be it, how do we format that motion?
Depends on what you wanna say.
Okay,
I was trying not to dictate this.
well,
So I want you guys to kind of take the lead on it.
Well,
mean,
do we have any kind of budget to buy the monthly Zoom? Whatever it was you were talking about, it's not a
Yeah, Zoom
license, a subscription
Um,
where
Yeah,
you
that's-
control it.
yeah, that's a question for Sherry. I'm not sure where, what line item it would come out of, or.
Take me a few to get on to the software. Hold on. See if I can do that quickly.
So yeah, and let me just look, I'll just show you the pricing.
Do you have your, oh, wait a minute. You know what, Christina, your budget that you sent to me, email.
I did send it to you, yeah.
Budget.
So yeah, so this shows if we got the pro plan, you can have up to 30 hours per meeting. 100 participants. I don't think we're gonna exceed that. Et cetera, and this is, it comes to $13.33 per month per user. There would just be one user. Billed annually, and we could set it up under the Board of Finance email so that it's owned by the Board of Finance, not me personally. Or you can do this $15.99 a month. So that would be a little bit more expensive, probably makes more sense to just do the annual.
You don't have anything right now in your budget that would cover that. So, I mean, you could, I mean, if you go into it now, you'd probably be looking at what, 5 months worth, which you could, cover that with other lines at the moment. But going forward, if you want to do this, then you'd have to modify your budget and then add this line to your budget.
And do you agree, so that it would be $13.33 per month if we did the annual, and that comes out to $159.96.
Yep.
For the year.
Yep.
All right,
Now, is it hard to justify since we only got video bombed once?
I think that's, yeah, it's in the eye of the beholder. For some people, once is
It wasn't very
Or
pleasant, but
more than enough, and other people are like, yeah. Price of doing business, so, yeah.
well, here's the, because sometimes we've been here, had some trouble, with trying to get into something and Mike or whoever isn't available.
Mhm.
So it kind of like throws a, wrench into things. So if we had our own, and then if you couldn't make it, you could always designate somebody else or, have a backup that became necessary.
Yep, that's true.
and we wouldn't have to shut down the meeting 5 minutes after we started, like that time. I don't know.
So Sherry, you said we have no budget, no money at all available?
You've got, you've got some money available. You don't have a budget line specifically to that.
Okay.
So you would, oops, hold on, we had it up in a minute.
So we've got 5 months left of the current fiscal year.
Yes,
And we
yes,
submitted a new budget but that doesn't have a line item for that, but that,
But we could do that.
we
could
can
revise
fix
it.
that, cause I know somebody that can amend the budget and send it back to you.
Yes,
So-
yes.
So,
Because I mean, you have this year you have $100 in office supplies, you get $100 in copier supplies. I mean, you got $50 in subscriptions and books and $50 in postage. I mean, you'll probably use the postage, but I mean, you could cover that, you know, those
5
couple of
months.
months, yes, what you have at the moment. And then, you know, then you can amend your budget, which, you know, what was submitted and put a line in for, you know, for Zoom.
I guess my next question would be to Christina, you're the current chair, so you're comfortable with being responsible for
Yeah.
that? I mean, we don't have a lot of people, and like he said, if we did have some reason that we would have a lot of people.
Yeah, no, I'm totally comfortable with it. I do virtual meetings all day, every day. It's
Yeah,
No
no,
biggie.
that's why I don't like them, because I do them all day too.
Zoom is not that difficult to use. I mean, I was admin on
No,
the
it's not, it's really
It's
easy,
really
it's just.
easy.
The only, honestly, the biggest change would be that I would have to upload the videos to YouTube, and that's just like a time suck. Cause it's like, you know, a
Right.
2-3 hour meeting is a big file and you're sitting there
Right,
Yeah.
twiddling your thumbs. So that would just be a little annoying, but I'm willing to do it. It's
That
fine.
can be done automatically somehow.
No,
No,
No.
manually have to do
yeah, cause
that.
that's what Type B does
yeah.
now
okay.
for us. So would anybody like to make a motion that we get our own license and try that out and see how it goes? And then we can continue sort of business as usual, but have a little bit more security for $150 roughly.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Okay. Would anybody
I'll
like to?
second it.
So,
Can I just ask, well, I guess when we go to discussion.
I'm just making a note. So made a motion to buy the pro plan of Zoom for the Board of Finance. And Pam seconded. Okay, discussion.
I was just gonna say, we should also make a note, I don't know if it needs to be in the motion, but that we need to amend our. Fiscal year 25-26 budget to include a line item for that.
Mhm.
I'd be willing to amend the motion to include that.
I think you have to, I don't think that has to be in the motion. We can just put in the minutes that Paul noted that we need to.
All right, okay.
And yeah, Sherry, if you could remind me if I don't.
Okay.
So remember in October.
Yeah. The only other thing I'll say is like, you know, we try it, you know, for a year.
Well, that's the other
And
thing.
if it's too onerous, if it's, you know, we just get sick of it, then we drop it and we move to a different plan. Whatever we have.
It's always open for discussion, I mean, really is.
But this does preserve the ability of the public to join virtually,
Right.
does preserve the videos and provides a little bit of extra
And I like
security.
the fact that we're not dependent on somebody else
Mhm.
if something's not working.
Right, exactly, yeah. Okay,
Hey,
all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so that passed unanimously. All right, next item is agenda items for the next meeting. So our next meeting on the books is January 23rd. I'm hopeful we don't have to have that meeting. Terry, Sherry, do you know of anything that would require us to have that meeting?
No, I do not.
Unless something comes up in the next, I would say, you know, by Monday, I'll send out a cancellation if we can cancel it, but I would hope that we can do that since we've had 2 meetings in a row. And we're gonna have marathon meetings as we proceed into February. I don't know of any other agenda items that we need to cover. It's just gonna be our first budget presentation, which will be the school, I believe, on February 20th. So that's our first gangbusters thing, and then the capital improvements committee meeting, I'm sure, or committee will continue meeting. Might be in between. those time
So
periods.
the question that Catherine asked about the CNR funds is paramount to the capital improvements committee. Because that is how that committee formulates what it sends back to the board of the board of selectmen to send to the board of finance. So just in the discussions that we had, that was last night, wasn't it? That's one of the, I guess, the driving forces. So we don't need to have a meeting about it. If that information gets passed on, like to get to Catherine, she's the chair of that committee.
I just wonder if because historically, we've always transferred money as part of that budget process.
Yep.
I don't know that we have to. If we have $100,000 in a fund, we could just say, we're funding these projects
could.
by that money.
Correct. The problem is that you still need to put money back into that fund, so there's continued money. Because there are some projects that are already in there that are encumbered over the years. Like there's 3 leases still ongoing that need to be paid.
Mhm.
And then there'll be a capital projects committee next year that'll need funding as well. So, and by our financial policy, we're supposed to put, I don't know what the number is, what the cap is, but if the unassigned fund balance is over a given percentage, we're
Yes,
supposed to put that.
Well, the problem is it's between 10 and 15%, so
So we have some.
there's discretion there.
But-
But I just wonder if we've kind of been socking money away without even realizing
We
it.
have not, trust me.
But we're saying that there's 800,000 in
Yeah,
that
but,
fund.
So I can tell you that the amount of requests exceed that by a lot. So what happens is the committee, the reason for that committee is. And the group sits down, reviews the project request, and then works with the individual requesters to see where that should stack up in a pile of priorities. And those projects get moved accordingly. That's why it's a 5-year plan. Because we revisit it so that things get moved into places where we might be able to fund them later on. Because we can't, if we put all those projects on the table right now, that fund would be gone and more,
Well, sure, yeah.
so. And trust me, like, I don't know that there's any requests that are like outlandish, like they're not things that people, it's not like we wanna build a bridge across, I don't know, the Mount Hope River or somewhere. It's just, we just want, there are items in there that need to be done at some point, and we have to figure out where they fit in the priority, so.
Okay, remarks for the good of the board? Just thank you, everybody, for your patience tonight and bearing with the audit revision. And with that, I will ask if anybody would like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Anne made the motion,
And I'll second.
and it's 8:04. And Pam, and then, okay. All those in favor?
I.
Right?
Hi, great,
Bye.
thanks, everybody, thank you,
Good
Sharon.
night,
Thank
everyone.
you. Thank you.
Bye.
Just mentioning to Christina.